In this video, I'm going to give you my full and honest review of the brand new Payntr X001F golf shoes. Now, these are a spikeless pair of golf shoes that retail in the UK for £120 or $160 in the US. Now, before we go any further, it's important to say in terms of sizing with these shoes that I had to go half a size up. These definitely come up small. There's 3 different color options available with the Payntr, and I've got the gray version here. In terms of the looks, that's gonna be for your own personal preference. If I'm being entirely honest, they're not necessarily for me. I do quite like the sporty aesthetic. They look a bit more like I suppose, kind of like a running shoe, more than perhaps a traditional golf shoe. However, I'm just not overly keen on this kind of grey and white pattern here in terms of these big block colors that you've got on this shoe. And as well, you've also got this two-tone design on the midsole as well. You can see there that you've got half grey and half white. Now, that is there for a structural reason. They actually have different density foams in this shoe. However, in terms of the looks, personally, I'm not sold on it. But let me know down in the comments, what do you think of the looks of the shoe? Taking a closer look, you can see here that first of all, you have got a Clarino microfiber upper here. Now, that's actually the same material that Under Armour use for their golf shoes. You've also got a couple of loops for the laces there. So you can see you've got a couple of different colors in red and black, but the loops don't go all the way up. So the laces do actually go directly into that microfiber upper there as well. And in terms of the laces as well, they are quite skinny and thin. Another thing that I did find with the laces as well is that they're really quite long. So when they arrived, I actually had to tie them up into this additional loophole. Now, I don't normally do that with any of my sneakers or any of my golf shoes, but I certainly had to do it with these. Now, there's something else that I did just want to mention in regards to the laces on this shoe, and that's in combination with the tongue. So you can see here that the tongue is actually really quite thin. There's not much padding to it at all. The tongue is also really quite wide as well. It kind of goes down a fair old way, and you can see that it's got a good amount of width to it. So it does feel nice and comfortable right on top of your foot. However, if you do like to tie your laces up really tight, where it's a thin tongue and where you've got these thin laces, it can cause a little bit of pressure across the top of your foot. Now, initially when I wore these shoes, out on the golf course wasn't a problem for me. I tied them up nicely, made sure it was comfortable for me, and I didn't have any problems. I did notice it when I was then wearing them, driving them home. For whatever reason, because I was in a slightly different position and I was wearing them for about half hour in the car as I drove home, I could really feel those laces across the top of my foot. So as I say, that's not a deal breaker, but it is just something that I wanted to make you aware of. Now, if you're enjoying this video and you're finding it helpful, make sure you smash that like button. Going back to the details of the shoe, and you can see here then you've got this material saddle there on the outside of the shoe, and that forms its way round the rear and then back onto the inside as well. Something else as well you might have noticed here at the back, you've got this graphite look on the back here, and that's because there is a piece of graphite running through the sole of this shoe to help give you a more responsive, bouncy energy return feeling to the shoe. Now, I'll come on to that in a little bit as to whether actually not I felt that out on the golf course, but one thing that I did just want to point out is that this on the back here is a sticker. So it's not actually the end of the graphite sticking out from the shoe. You've also got this see-through sole, and it's actually a different pattern on each of the shoes. So on one of them here, let's have a look, you've just got the X here. On the other shoe, you've got Payntr written on the logo instead. And what's really interesting is that here you can actually see that graphite plate there running through kind of from the heel to the midfoot area of the shoe. That translucent pattern has kind of discolored a little bit on there, and that will just naturally happen over time. In terms of how this outsole actually performed, I'll let you know a little bit later in the video, but as a sneak peek, I actually think this is a really, really good outsole. So how did I find these shoes to fit on my feet? Well, I've got to say, I was actually really impressed with the feeling. I quite like the feel of this upper. It is very, very lightweight, and it is quite flexible, to the point where in fact you can kind of feel and see a little bit of movement in the side of the shoes if you wiggle your toes a little bit. Personally, I found that it gave me enough support and stability on that upper. However, as you can see, there is a lot of flexibility to it. So if you're more used to a more traditional kind of leather golf shoe, which is going to give you a lot more structure from that upper, then these might feel perhaps a little bit loose, a little bit too flexible for you perhaps. Certainly feel a lot more like a sneaker than they do a pair of golf shoes. The padding around the heel and the ankle area is very nice. I found these to be a very, very comfortable golf shoes in those areas there. and I was able to wear these out on the course without breaking them in, and they didn't give me any blisters whatsoever. I've got to say that they are a very, very pleasant shoe to walk 18 holes in. You do actually feel that you've got a nice, easy transition when you're walking along, and I think that's going to be down to a couple of factors. First of all, on the outsole here, you can probably see that you've got a couple of kind of notches or cuts out of the outsole there, and that means just right here in this forefoot area you've got a nice bit of flexibility. Now, I don't know how much the graphite plate in these shoes is really helping support that. I can't tell how far up the shoe that plate comes, but it does feel nice and responsive. Now, I'm not going to say that it feels like you've got springs on the bottom of your shoes or that these are the most energy returning shoes that have ever been made. However, these are a nice pair of shoes to walk in, so there's got to be something to it. The combination of this shoe just kind of works when you're out walking. And that's a really nice thing to say when this is the first pair of golf shoes from a new brand in the golf market. One last point on the comfort of these shoes, and I've got to say my feet did get a little bit warm when out walking on the golf course in these shoes. It is a waterproof upper, which is absolutely fantastic, although I'll show you how it performed in the waterproof test very, very shortly. And you have got this breathable tongue. However, that didn't quite give enough breathability to my toes in this shoe. It wasn't uncomfortably warm, but I could certainly feel that my toes were starting to get a little bit warm in this shoe. Now, in terms of waterproofness, then this upper is 100% waterproof, but as you can see, when you actually pour water over the tongue and laces area, then it will let water in. So how did they perform out on the golf course? Well, I've got to say that I was actually really impressed with these shoes again. First of all, this grip pattern here on the outsole is really quite impressive. It is nice and aggressive, which is what I like in a pair of spikeless golf shoes. And you can see here that you've got some unique elements to it. So on this side of the shoe here, you've got a more dimple pattern, whereas on this side of the shoe here, you've got an arrowed pattern to try and help stop your foot kind of slipping out, as well as give it the rotation that it needs in your golf swing. And I've got to say that I didn't slip once in these shoes. I actually wore them out in the rain as well in some quite wet conditions, and again, I didn't actually have any problems in these shoes. Now, I have got to say that if I had the choice and I wanted a pair of golf shoes that had the maximum amount of grip possible, then I'm going to go for a pair of cleated shoes all day long. Spikes are just going to give you more grip than spikeless golf shoes. However, in the world of spikeless golf shoes, these are right up there, and they are going to give you pretty much as much grip as you could want from a pair of spikeless golf shoes. Now, in my first look at these shoes, I did say that I wasn't sure whether or not this window section here would be able to pop out on the golf course, and so far, so good. I've not had any problems with that whatsoever. In terms of the stability of these shoes, it feels like quite a nice wide base, which is really important when it comes to stability. And again, that kind of dual durometer midsole, although I didn't feel the difference with the two softnesses of the shoes, certainly will kind of lend itself to help make these shoes more stable in your golf swing. Payntr are not the only ones doing this. Under Armour have been doing it for a little while with their golf shoes, and I think you're going to see more and more golf shoes follow this approach. You might be able to see here as well that the midsole foam comes up on the lateral side a little bit here and just notches out. And again, I've got a feeling that is to help with the stability of these shoes, because that is where a significant amount of your force is going to be kind of pushing out on the side of the golf shoes during your golf swing. So again, it shows that Payntr have taken a lot of time and care and effort over these shoes and really kind of thought about making a technically good golf shoe. When I first saw that these shoes were £120, I was thinking that perhaps they would price them a little bit too high, given that no one's really heard of them. However, in terms of the actual performance and the fit and the feel and the technical aspects of these shoes, £120 actually feels about where it belongs for this pair of golf shoes. Whether or not that's going to hurt Payntr because no one really knows the brand yet, we're yet to find out, and who's for me to say? I don't know, these could be an absolute runaway success. In terms of the technical capabilities of this shoe, however, there's a lot here to like, and £120 sounds like a reasonable amount of money, to be honest. If you enjoyed this video today and found it helpful, make sure you smash that like button and let me know down in the comments whether or not you think the Payntr golf shoes could actually tempt you away from some of the other brands. Now, if you are thinking about buying a brand new pair of spikeless golf shoes, then why not check out one of my reviews here of the Adidas Code Chaos or the FootJoy Pro SL, both of which are premium spikeless golf shoes. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to my channel to keep up to date with all my latest reviews of golf tech and shoes right here on Golf Guy Reviews.